Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the closing argument. Today is July 4th. Happy July 4th to everybody. If you are in the United States, if you are celebrating with us today, is Independence Day for the great country of the United States of America. There's celebration everywhere, fireworks everywhere, food, barbecue. We're talking about celebration of all kinds. This is how you celebrate a country's birthday. Today is the birthday of the great United States of America. We want to welcome all of our friends. Share the show. Tell your friends. We are on. If it's 5:30 on the East Coast, it is the closing argument. I will be joined today by several guests, I think, and I know we have a special guest today. Mr. Talbot is going to be on, as far as I'm concerned. Unless something changes, he will be our guest. Mr. Talbot is going to be a special guest of Mr. Tomalin Josh. You know, this is a time of mourning and reflection in Liberia. Our country has been through a lot in the past, maybe 40, 45 years. And we all trying to collectively find a way to bring closure to many of us who lost friends and family. It is personal. And for the Talbot especially, while we are not putting any premium on life, we are saying it was 45 years to this year that the president of the Republic of Liberia was assassinated and overthrown. And 10 days later, several members of the cabinet were executed. And it has been a painful path for Liberia and Liberians. This week, we saw the president of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boakai, having some reburial and burials of state actors in Liberia. We saw the burial of the former First Lady Nancy Doe and her late husband in Grand Jita. And the next day, we saw the reburial of President Talbot and his cohorts. Painful indeed for everyone. Will we ever get closure? Are we capable of forgiving? Is Liberia a forgiving nation? Are we a people of faith? And are we living by the tenets of those that believe in the Jewish tradition, the Judeo-Christian faith? Those who believe in the Islamic faith, and those that have no faith? Are we a forgiving people? Is forgiveness possible? Have we gone through the process of grieving? Have we gone through the steps of grieving? After 45 years, if I were to ask you, where are you on the critical 5 steps of grieving? Are you at the acceptance stage of your grief? Are you at the anger stage of your grief? Have you accepted the fact that what has happened has happened? It cannot be reversed. Or are we a nation of vengeance? If you are a Christian, I think the scripture said, the Lord, vengeance is mine. If vengeance is the Lord's, then you as a layman or layperson, you have no claim to vengeance. You should not and cannot revenge or avenge. The Civil War affected everyone, every Liberian, in different ways. And I would go another step further and I say, the civil conflict affected our women and children the most. You heard horror stories of child soldiers, rape, maim, child soldiers, sex slave. You know, Liberia is not much younger than the United States, you know. If we are counting from 1822 to where we are at this point, is exactly 203 years. What have we done? Have we been able to build our own civilization? Have we been able to self-govern? Can we say we are proudly 103 years old nation? Can we compare ourselves to countries that are within our range, within 200 years of existence? Can we be proud of the past 200 years, 203 years to be exact, of the establishment of our civilization? We are a nation of faith. If the United States turned 249 years old today, and we are roughly 203 years old, we are about 43 years apart, or 46 years apart. And even if we went to independence from 1776 to 1847, we are talking about maybe four decades apart. What's the difference? What's the difference between the Republic of Liberia and these United States? Because we are peers. What would the scholars say? A couple of years ago, the former ambassador to Liberia asked the question, what would J.J. Roberts think? Or what would J.J. Roberts say? If Joseph Jenkins Roberts were to be risen by the Lord, and if he walked down Monrovia, what would he say? Is this the Liberia that he has envisioned? What would J.J. Roberts say? Is this the Liberia that Talbot and Todman bequeathed to us after leading the country for 27 years? If Todman was to walk up today, what would he think? If President Talbot was to rise today, what would he think? If Doe was to rise today, what would he say? We have traveled a treacherous path. So maybe with the appearance of Mr. Talbot and other intellectuals, maybe we can path. Or may I say, we can chart a new existence we are witnessing something that is very comical that we should talk about. And my own good friends, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, when he was visiting with me here in Florida, he says, something that had him perplexed. He said, why is it that Black African presidents, African leaders, take pride in having an invitation from the White House or from the French government or Great Britain? Why? You are a leader of another nation. And because you have an invitation from Washington, D.C., it becomes a major news in your nation. For Joseph Boyka, as it has been for all his previous predecessors, is a badge of honor to be invited to the White House. Professor P.L.O. says maybe our leaders suffer from very low self-esteem to the point where they need validation. We need validation, he says. How you doing there, young man? Myean, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and you?
Well, you see, you got a nice haircut. You're looking young, as usual.
Now you're here.
I say you got a nice haircut.
Oh, okay. Thank you ever so much.
Talk to me about Liberia. I am talking about the history of Liberia here. And it's great. You are young. You are in high school. So some of the things we are talking, before you go to current event in Liberia, but you as a young man, let me put this by you. I was just talking. When PLO Lumumba was here, he said, why African presidents celebrate when they are invited to the White House or to the French government or the British Parliament? Why they make such a big deal of it as though they are nothing and they need to be validated by the White House? Why do you think so? Why is it that when our president of it looks like we are having some technical difficulties here. Maya, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties there. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you. It's okay now.
Okay. Talk to me why African leaders are so happy when they get invitation to the White House or the French president or the British president calls them. Why are they so happy?
Yeah, so Mr. Kemi, I just want to say thank you and thanks to all of our followers and our listeners. This question is something like we as Liberian or black people, or let's just say Africans, we feel so happy because you see your elder person, or you see someone who is just like a rich person and a poor person in a place. Then you just see a poor person living in a place, and then a rich person invite you over to like have lunch or have dinner with them. Just imagine how it is like, because it is very hard for you to have that kind of a meal or whatever they will be able to afford for you. So having that opportunity, it is a great one. And then I must applaud them, because out of 5 countries, Liberia was selected. And then we as Liberians, we have to say thank you to the American government, because it was because of them that we are able and we will be part of the meeting. So we going to the warehouse is not something like, it's not strange, because during the past regime, the former president George Manuel regime, they had the opportunity also to go at the warehouse and then meet with former president Joe Biden. And today we are seeing that our president, our current president, Jose Newman Boaga, His Excellency, is also having the opportunity again to visit the warehouse in Washington, D.C. So I think it is a plus for we as Liberians, and from all part of life, whether you are opposition, whether you are rooting, we must have to admit this. We must have to say thank you, because I was in a car with someone and a driver was driving, and he said that it is necessary that Liberia is going there. I asked him why is it that Liberia is going there. He said it is so good that the president right now is sparing all of our past leaders, showing them courtesy. I said, for why exactly? What you think is the symbol of the? And he told me that because it is moving all of the bad log, that people will say, the bad log, all of the bad things that have been in the hole for Liberia. It is removing everything. So as a result of that, Liberia is able to go at the warehouse to be able to showcase themselves. So others were posting on Facebook that if they have like 4 person, like the founder minister and on Amara Corner, they will all be able to make the case of Liberia. So I heard from reliable sources that they are going to discuss on the economic situation within Liberia, especially our African countries who are impacted by the warehouse.
Okay, now you, Myean, welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Myean, you tell me, what is it that you expect out of this meeting when the president comes here, when he goes back to Liberia? Forget about MOU. We got thousands of those already. What is it you expect to get the Republic of Liberia to gain from this, other than you say putting us in the news? What else do you expect from this particular visit?
So first, we'll look at the visit, because visiting the warehouse, it is a plus for us, like I said earlier, because if you go to visit the warehouse, the first they find international recognition, and also you find something like, we'll say public, all the entire country will be like looking at you, out of almost so many countries, African countries, and you were selected to go represent Africa, and then you see yourself at that place. Firstly, you have to look at the international recognition and also to boost your leadership in terms of the political arena or the homeland you came from, to be able to boost your economic status or the opportunity within your country, because you living from your country going to another country, it is a plus for you, because the American people, we look at them to be our father, we look at them to be the people who colonize us. So with everything, we look at them to be our people who give birth to us. So in terms of the security, they are also going to prove themselves, because Liberia don't have that quality of security within our country. They are also going to have plus, because we just watched the recent election for the United Nations Security Council, where Liberia also won the seat. So I think these are things that they are going to discuss on, and also global eyesight, like you are going to tell the world at large what your country is doing, what your country intends of doing, and also to bring back some good things within your country that the people will be able to look at and say, yes, the president never went out there, or the American government did not invite them for just to go and see them, but rather to invite them for economic development and trade. We look at the health sector, look at the climate change and the clean energy, and we look at a series of opportunities like the security cooperation. These are things that I expect that our government, when they're coming back, we should look at investment and all that stuff. A lot of things that we are expecting from them. But we hope to see, we cannot say all, but we hope to see what they are going to bring for our country. But just my own point of view, that I'm hoping that our government will be able to bring back for this summit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed. Welcome, sir. Truth in Ink.
Yep. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Nyenwolo.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here. Happy 4th to you all. And let me also say what's up to our audience. Thanks for joining us as usual. Don't forget to invite a friend, share the show, man. Bring on people. Come on.
Great.
The more the merrier, they say.
Well, today is July 4th. Happy 4th to you. My family is having a cookout, and I had to leave to come, so I know everybody is out
Look
there.
at you. You're so committed to your country.
That's
you love
correct.
your country
That's
over
correct.
your family. Good for you, man.
And it seemed to you could have been somewhere else, but
Absolutely.
you chose to be here. The chief, Tomalin George, how you doing there, sir? Welcome.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Happy 4th.
Let's celebrate America, man. Let's thank God for this country.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We are having a great time. Yes, that Lee Greenwood.
Yes.
God bless the United States.
God bless God for this country, man.
And this guy is about to sign the big, beautiful bill.
Oh yeah, in a few minutes.
What? I think we need to take time out to explain that bill, because there are some portion in that bill that affects.
You can't explain it, man. 999 pages.
No, but what we need to do as a platform, because we not only serving what happened in Liberia. Within that bill, you got the issue of Medicare, taxes, and all those different. So I think we need to get Larry and people that will look at those particular ones that will tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning start having effect on our people and provide some explanation, perhaps as to where they need to go. Maybe we could take a Sunday show or a Saturday show to go into it. I mean, of course, you can explain all, but you're the Republican. You're the one point anything I ever
guys, I'm sorry. The guest is, I see the guest, so because it's a lady like Liberia now. So
let's go.
Who's the guest?
We'll bring in Mr. Stephen Torbert. Mr. Torbert is the son of the late finance minister of Liberia, Stephen Torbert. He also the nephew of the late president William R. Torbert, and I think he also, I'm informed, he's also his mother is Ned Dukley Torbert. So with all much ado, let me bring in Mr. Torbert. Good to see you, Mr. Torbert. Welcome to the closing argument, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks for the invitation. Much appreciated.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Gaiman will be taking the lead. Mr. Gaiman is here. We got Mr. Nangbe, we got Mr. Fofana, and of course Myean in Liberia there. But it's a happy 4th of July to all the Americans, all those who are all you guys, everybody on the platform. So I know, besides Myean, I think, but happy 4th of July, everybody. But it's a pleasure to have you guys here, and let us kick out the 4th of July with Mr. Torgbean as our guest. As you all may be aware, I mean, I know every one of you guys are old enough to know what happened in 1980, and after the coup, what happened 10 days later, and then following that, there have been 45 years. This emotional grief has been all over the place, and recently the government of Liberia decided to do a official reburial of 2 former presidents, Samuel Doe and President Torgbean, and then the 13 government officials that was executed. And we decided to bring Mr. Torgbean at least to come and get some perspective about what happened on that day. Perhaps I'm sure he can share with us and where we are today and how we can get from a closure to what happened. And so it's a pleasure. So Mr. Gaiman, Mr. Nangbe, Mr. Fofana, Mr. Torgbean is here, and so Mr. Gaiman, I will turn the floor to you, and I'll be your co-host.
Thank you very much. Mr. Torgbean, how you doing there, sir?
I'm very well, Mr. Gaiman. How you doing?
Good. For those who don't know you, never met you, don't know of you, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, I am Stephen. My full name is Stephen Allen Talbot II. I am resident in Liberia. I have been resident here since 2006. I am involved in real estate at a private level. I have a small company that also does marketing on social media, creating content for businesses and institutions who are selling goods and services or who wish to educate.
Great. This week we've been profiling the different high schools in the country. Did you go to high school in Liberia?
No, my man. No, I did not. And that is because my father died in 1975 in a plane crash. Okay. And 2 months after that, my mother was already working in Paris, in France. So she came and got me and my brother, and she took us to Europe. So that's basically where I grew up, Europe, and then much later the United States. So I didn't go to school, unfortunately. I was in school here at the elementary level, but not at the high school level.
Okay, elementary school, that's fine. We accept our elementary school, but it's nice meeting you. Usually the format, I think you are quite familiar with the panelists. We ask you one question with a follow-up, and then and then we rock and roll from there. But I want to extend my sympathy to you, as I have done to everybody, because the situation in Liberia has affected all of us. And some of the things we're going to be looking at too today, from my perspective, would be the grieving process. Where are we, or where are you personally? The stages of grief, which begins with basically anger and all of that, and then finally acceptance. So we're going to go through that route and see where we are as a nation. And like the former ambassador said, if Honorable Stephen Torgbean was to rise today, what will he say? Hold on to that while I go to Mr. Ahmed. Ahmed, your first question, and then follow. So, Mr. Torgbean, hold on to those thoughts, and let's go around.
I thought we were going to allow him to say much more about his whole perspective. We'll ask from there.
So you go ahead. You ask him to do that.
Yeah.
Well, so ask me something specific, and then I might be able to reply rather than just go
you attended a reburial. It's been, as Tomalin said, 45 years. Perhaps if you gave us a perspective from that fateful day when you lost your own death, sympathy, but what became the national attention was when the former president was murdered. So from that day to now, having him reburied, I know there have been a lot of emotional. So we just wanted to drive us through there. Then perhaps we could ask questions in between, at least from your own perspective, the family perspective, and all of that.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on the show, and I thank you for the interest that you've taken in the reburial process. When the coup happened on April the 12th, 1980, I was not actually in Liberia, as I explained to you. I was away in Europe, but it was still extremely shocking and painful. We received the news of the coup and the murder of President Talbot on a Saturday morning. And at the time, my mother was the Liberian ambassador to Paris. And I remember in her office, her secretary's office right next to her office in the embassy, all of these long cables, the telex machine, at that point it was telex machines. And the telex machine just kept spewing out loads and loads and loads of paper with all of this information and directives and information and changes that were coming from Liberia. And it was extremely confusing, but it was very, 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 it was very hurtful. We were in shock. We had to hear news of our family members, some of whom were killed, others who were running for their lives in hiding, female members of our family who were being persecuted, some of them raped, others who were being put in prison. So it was just not the president. The tragedy fell on the whole family, whether you had anything to do, whether you were in politics or you were not in politics, they came after us. And, we had to live in fear. I mean, we were a great distance away, but we were living in fear, even at a great distance at that time. But with time, you learn to adapt. You are faced with a situation that you cannot change, that you cannot change, and you have to learn to live with it, live with the new reality. And that's what we learned to do over the years, by being prayerful, by asking for forgiveness, by asking for strength, facing our plight with courage, and trying to make decisions and trying to make new lives in whichever part of the world we were. But it was very shocking and very painful. What was also, I think, very shocking for me as a child at that point was the way in which the president was treated, the way in which his body was disposed. I had to see all of this in newspapers. I was going to school in Europe, and I had to see all of this printed in newspapers, that were delivered to our schools. And friends would come and ask me questions, and they would be curious, and they would want to know why and how. And I really didn't have an explanation for them. So that was how the coup affected me personally.
I made a follow-up.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very sad situation. I mean, we went through that period as a country, regardless of connection to Talbot, though, but it's a period that remained stained on our country. I mean, from the period of 1970 now, 1980 up to our own civil crisis. I know you were young, but I just want to deviate a little bit to come back to perhaps what led to the process. It may not be justified considering a family member got lost. But right beyond Duka Palace, I'm sure as a kid, there was somewhere you visited while in Liberia sometime. Right beyond Duka Palace was what we call the West Point, the slum community. Peasants, well, other Liberians, young boys and girls, perhaps of your age group at the time, also who lived there. Never privileged and opportune to anything. They lived on a dropout. The country was perhaps divided, maybe not even in the middle, 70-30. Huge discrimination and disparity. The soldiers claimed that as justification for their action. it's not something you could affirm or allude to. But when you look at the situation today in the country and your own effort perhaps to create jobs, to help mitigate the disparity between the haves and the have-not, how do you put all of those things in perspective and say, well, I think I understand where this came from. Hopefully not the extent where people would have died, but the disparities within the country that persist even up to today.
Okay, let me first say this. I explained to you a little bit about what happened, how I felt personally, and what happened to members of my family. What is also true is that the same experiences, the same things which transpired in 1980 against my family eventually came to the entire country, the length and the breadth of Liberia. So it was not because we were a first family or a former first family that we got that treatment. That went into every town and village, north, south, east, and west of Liberia, that specific fate. That's the first thing. The second issue that you're alluding to about the disparities in the country, the poverty. There is no question. The poverty existed at that time, and I would argue it's probably even worse today. The gulf, the disparity is probably worse today than it was back then when we have so many more people. And these problems are not specifically Liberian. They are regional, they are African, and this situation exists across the continent. What I think President Talbot was trying to do, and he recognized that. He absolutely recognized that. But what I think President Talbot was trying to do in his administration was to create more opportunities, was to bridge the gap, was to lift people up. One of his famous slogans, from mats to mattresses. And a lot of his development efforts was about lifting people out of poverty and creating new situations and new realities for them. This was his policy. And he put those in place, and there are very clear achievements in a number of fields, in education, in housing, in infrastructure, the list goes on. So yes, the disparities were there, the differences were there, but I think, to be fair to President Talbot, he did his best to try to improve the situation and bridge the gap.
Great. Mr. Nyenwolo.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Talbot, let me welcome you. And again, as others have done, let me also extend my sympathies to you for your uncle as well as your family members, and deep regrets for what happened on April 14th. Let me ask you this. I noticed this reburial event has been heralded as an attempt at reconciliation. The Doe family made representation at the reburial of your uncle and other family members, but it has been reported that none of you guys made representation at the reburial of the former president and the former first lady. So let me ask you this. Was that intentional? Was it an accident? Do you believe this exercise is helping to bridge the divide? And finally, if Garguah Matthews were alive today, would you have invited him to the reburial of your uncle and other family members?
If who were alive?
Garguah Bacchus Matthews.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Well, look, let me go back a little bit. Last year, I believe it was September. Last year, September, an older brother, Mr. Richard Talbot, passed away after a very brief illness. And I happened to have gone to the scene and tried to take him to the hospital to get help. But anyway, he passed away. But when he passed away, I did not hear, and it kind of surprised me, but I later learned why. And I did not hear for all of the after his death and all of the problems that we were going through and the challenges with his family and so forth and so on. I didn't hear anything from Mrs. Nancy Doe. And the reason why I'm saying I was surprised was because Mr. Richard Talbot, for many years, going back many years, had been good friends with Mrs. Nancy Doe. So when he passed away, I thought at some point she might try to reach out to the family, but I didn't hear from her. I later found out that she was not well. Before that time, I have older brothers, cousins who have met with members of the Doe family, who have talked with them, who are friends with them. And they have collaborated, they have hugged, they have talked. So it's not a question, you know, we're not sitting down there with hatred in our hearts because somebody is called Doe or because they're crowned. It's just simply not the reality.
Thank you. So the
follow-up.
the lack of representation at the reburial of the Doe family was inadvertent, you would say. Was absolutely
it was inadvertent. I personally, I would have gone, but I personally was not in town at that point. I just got back. I was not in town at that point, and I might have gone. I would have gone, but I haven't asked if other members of my family went there.
Thank you for that clarification. Now, my follow-up will be, let me ask you this. I was reading up on you. I think you said around 13 you were in London going to school and all that. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
When this incident happened, let me ask you, if you were to write a letter to your young self, Stephen Talbot Jr., given that your dad, and again, I'm sorry about the plane crash. That was a national tragedy. We all kind of, mourn his passing, but let's assume he was still around, alive. Your uncle was the president then in the executive mansion. Given the upheaval, the agitation, all of the poverty in the country, you just alluded to that. What would you have said? How would you have advised your uncle, your dad, and people in authority to help bridge the divide that was very obvious at the time? Your uncle, your dad, they were in authority. What would have been your advice to a younger Stephen Talbot advising his dad and uncle on how to address these obvious simmering, discontent that was brewing in the country?
I'm not quite understanding your question.
Okay, let me rephrase.
Okay.
So you acknowledge that we went through a difficult time in Liberia prior to 1980, and even now you believe things are even getting worse. That's what you indicated earlier. Correct?
Correct.
There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of hardship. What is happening now is, at the time of your uncle's presidency, a few of you had access that many of us did not have. And so there was an obvious divide between those of you who had then. Imagine you were going to school in London. I was probably going to school in a village somewhere because I couldn't afford to come to Monrovia. So there was a divide, and there was denial of access to the majority, to the exclusion of the few of you. And I'm saying, now that you've had the time to reflect on all of that, if you were older at the time prior to 1980 and you were to go in the room to your uncle in the executive mansion, what advice would you have given him to address these obvious inequalities?
What advice would I have? Perhaps, I don't like. Well, first of all, I was a child,
of course,
and what I have learned, about that period, about that point in time, has come through talking with people, interviewing, reading, looking at documents, letters, archives, so forth and so on.
Okay.
That's how I've come by my knowledge of that period. Now, hypothetically, I might have told them, I don't know that I would change stuff. I would have probably asked them to accelerate Education. Education, agriculture, infrastructure. I would have encouraged them to put more time, put more effort, more money, more resources, or find more resources to put into those areas, because they produce the greatest dividends for people.
Correct. And quite frankly, to your uncle's credit, the late president, he actually did help a lot of the young fellows, the progressives, of course, who came back later on to IGD when he was vice president for 19 years or so. He's been credited for having extended, open up learning opportunities to the most of the guys. So I think your uncle was on the right track, except that I think he was a little slower, as you're acknowledging here. But I'm going to pass you on to Sylvie. Before I do that, let me try to come on a little softer ground. I am married. I'm a dad of 3 boys and a daughter. My first daughter is in her 40s. I live in Jersey. My wife and I am an educator. Why don't you tell a little bit more about your family?
My family, I have a family. I got married. Well, I lived in Guinea, Guinea-Conakry for 12 years. After I left New York many years ago, I lived in Conakry for 12 years.
French? You speak a little bit of French?
I can manage, yeah.
I spent a year in the Ivory Coast too, so I've kind of forgotten most of my French, but go ahead.
Yeah, I can manage. And so, yes, I lived in Guinea, and I started a business that I was actually on my way moving back to Liberia, and then war broke out again. So that's where I settled and stayed there for almost 14 years, 12 years. And I stayed there for 12 years. And I got married in that country and started a family, had a business there and started a family. My sons now are in Canada. Their mother lives in Canada. So after high school here, they've gone over to Canada for more education, different experiences. Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Is your wife Liberian?
No, she's Pula.
Okay. I don't blame you there. I mean, I'm not.
Mr. George.
Yeah. Again, let me say again, it's good to have you, Mr. Torgbean. That's very good. There's many people wonder how you guys came about with this dream to memorialize your family after such a national tragedy. Many people trying to find out how you guys. I know you mentioned your late cousin, right, Richard Torgbean.
Right, Richard Torgbean.
Yeah, they started this long before people started. Government they were thinking about doing this thing about reburying their family members. So I want to know how it came about, how you guys came about with this.
Okay, there is a group called the April 22nd group. Okay. And the April 22nd group, I believe, was founded in or around 2004. And it has been among their objectives to honor their loved ones who died around that time. And so they have been working steadily towards this goal for 20 years now? Yeah, a little over 20 years. I am not a member of this group because, technically speaking, I did not lose my father in the coup. My father died 5 years before the coup happened. So I have not technically been involved in the April 22nd group. But those persons who did lose fathers and relatives have been, and they've been working towards this goal of memorializing their fathers. And frankly, I mean, I understand that. I fully understand that. When my father died as a little boy, I mean, in the plane crash, we went through a grieving process. We went through a family process. He was buried with respect and with honor. And it brought some sense of closure. The pain is still there, but it brought some sense of closure to us. And I understand the members of this group, the April 22nd group, who did not have any of those things. Their relatives, their fathers, didn't get any of this. In fact, they got the exact opposite. So if it's entirely human and natural, I think, to want for your loved one to be respected and the memory treated with care. So that's how I think that has evolved, the April 22nd group, which includes, of course, the children of President Talbot, his sons and his daughters.
Yes. Let me ask you, what do it mean to wear this healing, this about unity, about reconciliation? I mean, how you guys handle this? Because it's been a long time though, but no matter how long it takes, the pain and feeling is still there. Especially the way how your loved ones, your uncle, your other relatives of yours, how they were taken out of this earth. And so, how I mean, share with me, share with us. People are watching around the world.
Okay, but look,
how you feel? I mean, like to come to heal, the healing part, reconciliation, and how do we do it? Share with us our experience.
Let me remind you of a number of things historically, and I will start with the very recent past. In 2022, you will remember that William Richard Talbot III was the National Peace Ambassador of Liberia, and he worked tirelessly on behalf of the government and the people, bringing resolution to disputes, bringing people together, creating opportunities for partnerships and sharing and exchange, and listening to their problems. He worked all across this country. And in 2022, the son of the former president, who was also our National Peace Ambassador, was murdered here, right here in Liberia. Okay, so our family, we are people who operate on principle. That is the way that we're educated. That is the way how we're brought up. It was not because Bill Talbot's father, for instance, died in the coup, that he was killed and that he was treated the way that he was treated. It did not preclude him from coming back to his country and bringing whatever resources and talents that he had to work on behalf of his country and on behalf of the Liberian people. Okay? Further to that, I will remind you that the business of making peace, bringing people together, is very deep in our DNA. And let me bring a few facts to you. It was President Talbot who, as vice president in the 1960s, in the 1950s, and then finally in the 1960s, who mediated between Biafra and the
somebody calling.
of Biafra actually signed at the Temple of Justice here in Monrovia. And President Talbot.
Come back again. I didn't get that part.
There was a break in between. I think somebody was calling you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What did you last hear?
Yeah, but Biafra.
Biafra. You just said.
Okay. Yeah. President Talbot was flying in small airplanes at night. Okay. All across Nigeria, between on the West African coast, working to bring peace to that country, to put the Nigerian people back together. It was President Talbot who brought his West African colleagues together, who had not been speaking since they became independent, countries in 1960, in the late 50s, 1960s, who had not been speaking. It was President Talbot who made peace between his homologues here at the Executive Mansion in Monrovia, between Sékou Touré, between Senghor, between Houphouët-Boigny, and others, brought them together. So we have a history of wanting peace, of making peace, because peace is good. And peace, not only because it's good, but because it's the foundation for any society going forward. It's the first foundation for development. If you don't have peace, you don't have anything. And nothing that you do, if you don't have peace, is durable. So it is a sine qua non. It is the basis. It's the foundation of anything and everything going forward, where development of the country is concerned.
Okay, Mr. Torgbean, let's talk about. I talked about the grieving process. There are 5 stages of grief. We got denial. We have anger. We have bargaining. We have depression, and finally acceptance. Out of those processes, where are you at this point?
Well, I think as a family, we reached acceptance a long time ago. We didn't have a choice. We absolutely did not have a choice. We simply had to accept the fact. And the fact was that the president was killed in the exercise of his function. So, you know, there was no bargaining there. We just had to accept the condition for what it is. Now, of course, you go through, I remember going through feelings of anger, sometimes depression, about the situation, about the loss, about the break in the family relationships. I remember personally those feelings. I also remember, for instance, that there was a young woman at the time who was married to the son of the president, A.B. Talbot. And she had been married to him for a few years and had 2 infants, 2 babies, basically. In 1980, A.B. Talbot was killed, okay? And this young woman, who was Ivorian, first by nationality, this young woman was left with 2 children on her hands, no husband, and she had to raise up her children by herself. Now, as a human being, you might understand how she, for instance, would be angry at that situation. And that stayed with her, and that has affected her family, her relationships, because it's an extremely hard thing. It's an extremely difficult thing. So definitely, I know family members who have had those feelings, who have had those experiences, but you have to overcome them. You have to find new ways of coping with it, of dealing with it, and using it to build and go forward.
Do you think the family feel the sense of having the Kennedy family syndrome, where one family member after another just go down to tragedy? Have you felt that sense? You lost your father, you lost your uncle, your cousin, your nephew. Do you by any chance feel why, you know, like the scripture said, "Go, why me?" You know, the Kennedy syndrome. You know, family after family after family.
Well, Mr. Gaiman, we are a very large family. Numerically, we are a very large family. We are a very varied family. And we are also a family that has been blessed, immensely blessed, in so many ways, in terms of the talents, the skills, the abilities, the disposition. We've had that, you know, and I have to tell God, thank you for the blessing that he has brought on the Talbot family. But yes, you are correct. There have also been instances where individuals have met unfortunate, shocking deaths. That is true. But of course, because we are a large family and because we are a prominent family, it tends to get more attention and more headlines. So it looks more frequent and it looks bigger. But everybody else in their own family loses people too. We're not the only ones. It's just that our own can make the headlines.
Ahmed, you are muted.
Thank you again. Thank you again. I mean, you have driven us through history, and so I want us to now focus on the uncle, the father, the man, the husband, ignoring perhaps the politics, ignoring perhaps the atrocities, the tragedy. What do you remember of your uncle? What kind of man he was, outside being the president of Liberia and the bishop, the reverend, just a family person from that perspective, if you could share.
You know, one of my favorite pictures, which I keep in my bedroom, is I'm standing as a child of maybe about 5 or 6 years old, and I'm standing between my father and my uncle, and they're both looking down on me. And that's one of my favorite pictures. Now, I don't know how much of a relationship I can describe to you, because I mean, you know, President Talbot was my father's older brother. Okay, there was 10 years between the two of them. So I could only have known President Talbot through my father. But because the two men were very, very close, were very close, very intimately close brothers, I was often in the orbit around them, around the president. In addition to that, he was the president as vice president first, and then finally as president, was frequently visiting our home. Whenever he needed to see my father to discuss whatever it was, he would come to the house. Later on, when my father moved to Bentall, he built a house right next to the president's house. And there was just a simple gate between the two yards where we could go back and forth with ease. So I had perfect access to him, but he was my Uncle Willie. You know, he was my Uncle Willie. He was cheerful. He was sometimes, he could be sometimes moody, but I also knew that he was involved. He had heavy responsibilities, and that he was an extremely busy man with a lot of demands on his time. So I was actually more often than not, you know, playing with the other children in the house. And there were times when my father would go to see him, and I would tag along with my father. And you know, I would play between the two men. We would talk, we would laugh, we would joke. He would pinch my cheeks, he would tickle me. He was a good man. I think an affectionate, caring man. He had a great relationship, like I said, with my father. And that's basically how I remembered him. I remember also when after my father died, when we moved to Europe, and the president would come to Europe, whether sometimes it would be in England, sometimes there was another time there was in Italy, there was another time in Germany, and we would go and visit with him. And when we went to see him, you know, I knew my Uncle Willie would find one little dollar note, some kind of dollar note, $50 note. The maximum was $100. And he would slip a little note to me, $100 note to me, where I would have to go and buy some toy or do something with it that I wanted to do, of course, under my mother's supervision. But, you know, he was a father. He was a father, and he was a caring father, and he was a caring and loving uncle.
Thank you. Thank you. So that would bring me to a slogan, perhaps a policy and a definition of his own presidency, when he said, "The youth are the pressure jewelry of the country." I think that slogan became part of the definition of the Talbot's legacy. What formed that orientation? What was it leading to, considering that his own activity, quote unquote, was within a special class, but yet he was calling the youth as the pressure jewelry of the country? What drove that narrative?
I'm not getting anything. The line is breaking.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you better now. Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted you to talk about a little bit about the slogan that came to define the president's own legacy when it talked about the youth are the pressure jewel of the country. That became a slogan attached to his presidency, his legacy. Where was that coming from? What was his vision in that regard?
What was his position in that regard?
His vision.
His vision. His vision.
What was his vision? Well, I think then as now, you know, Liberia has, at crucial moments of its history, Liberia has always had a very large youthful population. I think our youthful population, persons under 30 years old, I think it's somewhere around, it's in the mid 60% of our total population. And I think that was also the case back then with President Talbot. President Talbot, I'm sure, understood that it was necessary to prepare the youth, to assume their national responsibilities at every level. And I think that is why he put so much emphasis on it, because they were the next generation. They were the people who would eventually take over. And everything that was being done at that time in his administration was being done to support this. And President Talbot's record suggests to me that he took that very seriously in terms of expanding education, building the multilateral high schools all across Liberia, the Fendel campus, making books available, you know, and on and on and on, opening the College of Agriculture, opening other universities, Tubman University, for instance. It was started, the planning of it was started in the Tubman administration, but it was President Talbot who finished that. So he put a lot of emphasis into education and into preparation and skills training. President Talbot also expanded Liberia's scholarship program, sending Liberians away to a variety of countries, to Europe, to the United States, to the Eastern Bloc, all over the world, sending Liberian students away to acquire skills and learn new things that they would come back to Liberia to help build the country with. So, you know, his record there is clear, and I think that, you know, he understood the importance of the youth.
Thank you. Let me welcome our brother, Mr. Dix. I won't confuse you with the other CFI this time around. Mr. Garguah, welcome to the show. Both of you will pay fine for coming to class late. It's all right. Mr. Namwe, 2 questions, please.
Thank you very much again, Jerome. And Mr. Talbot, thank you for your time. I was going to ask, but given your responses to some of the questions, you know, I'm going to skip your thoughts on tomorrow's holiday that has been declared by the government of Liberia, hopefully to accommodate, you know, the common people who may not have been the name brand people, who may not have been the Does or the Talbots. I understand tomorrow has been set aside as a remembrance day for those people. Given your disposition, I'm assuming you'll be okay with that. But let me ask you this: you know, your dad built a very humongous conglomerate, you know, the Maserati group of companies, and you know, it was doing very well up to the time of the, I believe even after his accident. Have you guys given that any thoughts, resuscitating that? And also, besides, I think the late Richard Towell, whom you mentioned, I don't think any of you have given any thoughts to, a political life in Liberia after 1980. So basically, I'm trying to see, whether you guys still feel tied to Liberia. I know you say you live in Liberia now, but you seem to be very much out of the limelight.
But Mr. Nangwe, you keep coming. You know, I thought I was coming on this show here for reconciliation and ideas about moving forward. But look at y'all like the politics thing here.
And I already give it to you. I already say I think you will feel good about what's happening.
Y'all like the politics thing here. And you been attacking me from the beginning, Mr. Nangwe.
Change the question.
Yeah, you been attacking me from the beginning.
He want nominate you. That's what you want to do now.
Exactly.
Mr. Nangwe been attacking me from the beginning. I'm noticing it. But anyway, I jump over it. I just want you to know,
Jump over it.
Yeah. But,
no, but seriously though, do you guys think you could come back and revive that? I mean, it was a group of companies.
Look, yes, we have. Well, first of all, my father started that business with foreign partners in the 1950s. By the time that 1980 arrived, the Mesorato, and by the time 1980 arrived, the Mesorato group of companies at that point was turning over in 1980 over 30 million United States dollars at that time. Adjusted for inflation, you're talking about $200 million today. And it was done primarily through agribusiness, and it was done, the other business was fishing. Those were the two anchors of the Mesorato group of companies. There were other businesses in between which provided a range of goods and services. You're talking about now, since 1980, you're talking about 30, 40 years down the road.
45 years.
When so much has changed in the world. You cannot do fishing, industrial fishing, as he did it back in his day and his time. You cannot do that today. You certainly can't do it as easily or as cheaply as he might have been able to do back in his day. So you've got to be able to harness new different kinds of technologies and go in different directions. One of the things that we are looking very closely at is fish farming, for instance. So, yes, we have ideas, we have ambitions to be moving in a business direction. Yes, for sure. Sure we do. But I don't want to talk too much about it right now.
Right, I appreciate that. And you guys you did give Oreo, the run for their money. Mesotex, I think that was the uniform brand that was under the Mesorato group of companies. I remember because I wore I wore the Mesotex uniform when I was in grade school. But listen,
But Mr. Nangwe, that's small research you've been doing also.
But listen, I honestly, when they mentioned you, I hadn't heard about you. I'll be honest, so I had to Google you and kind of educate myself. But it really been nice talking to you. I'm having a good time. I'll pass it on. I will save my next question. I will pass it on to
Right. Mr. Tolba, on the lighter side, we have to congratulate Joey Chestnut, the winner of the hot dog contest. The 70th time this guy won the hot dog eating contest, he ate 71 hot dogs. Well, wow. Mr. Dick, I want to remind you are a politician. We brought Mr. Toro here, not for politics. We're talking about reconciliation, how our country can move forward. I'm just kidding. But let's keep it within our realm where we can dialogue. How do we move forward?
I don't have a problem with that. I understand your temptation. I understand the temptation.
If we go the political route, we'll be here all night. That's what I'm saying.
But I understand the temptation. Given my family name, it's unavoidable. People make assumptions and they probe and they prod and they want to know, which is perfectly natural coming from you. I perfectly understand that.
Well, with that being said, guys, let's narrow it down to the country. Our country is at a point where we are talking about healing. We are talking about grieving. How do we move the country forward? And we're hearing some great things. Mr. Deeks, your 2 questions.
Yeah, Steve, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Oh.
Okay, I got a very simple question. It's going to be strictly around reconciliation. I know.
Okay.
So this country, our country passed, I mean, from pre-independence to independence, you know, the Southdown War, the crew chief execution, the Tomalin era with the detour, David Coleman, you know, Raymond Horace, the Ray. I mean, we have good and bad past in our history. Then we had the Rest Riot, the coup, the war. You, Steve, how do we proceed as a country that we can be united, that we can find something that will unite us as Liberians, that we can move this country forward? How can we proceed there?
Okay. You know, I've lived back in Liberia now for 20 years. Yes, for 20 years, I've lived back here in Liberia now. And in the time in which I've lived here, I have learned to love Liberian people, to love interacting with them on a daily basis, talking with them, joking with them, fighting with them. And we are people, I think, who have very special talents and abilities, but we do not always have the opportunities. The first thing I said earlier was that we need to strengthen the foundation of peace that we have in Liberia. We need to reach out to each other. We need to talk more. We need to exchange. We need to express our pain and difficulty. Like I said, you know, in 1980, April 1980, what happened to President Talbot eventually filtered down to the entire country. It wasn't just the Talbot family or President Talbot. It filtered down to the whole country. And I think in the same way, we have to build bridges towards each other, to remain open towards each other, to try to let go of some of the anger and the vexation and the hatred and the suspicion. Part of the unfortunate consequence of war, I think, has been that it has destroyed our institutions, our social institutions, our cultural institutions, our sense of self. Liberians are wandering around the streets and they know very little about themselves. In actual fact, they know very little about themselves because our institutions have been broken, and the institutions have not been able to give them the kind of foundation that they need to strengthen the foundation, moral and intellectual, to be able to build a new future. So that's the first thing. We need to promote peace. We need to find it. We need to build it. We need to let go of the disappointment, the hatred, the vexation, the suspicion that we have of each other. We need to let go of that. And we need to understand that in spite of everything, this country, Liberia, is the only country that we have, and we own it together. Everybody has a stake in it, and everybody has the right to succeed and to be happy in their country. And we've got to work towards creating that goal, and putting in the kinds of policies and projects that will bridge that divide. And that brings me to a very interesting point. Maybe I can tell you about what personally I have been doing. And with your kind permission, perhaps I might even ask your permission to come on another show to explain to you what I've been doing. What I founded a foundation, and it's called the Cover Our People Foundation. And it grew out of an idea I had in 2023, right after a funeral of my uncle. And I came back home I came back home, and sitting around my room, I noticed that I had all of these clothes everywhere. The clothes were coming out of the closet. The drawers couldn't close properly. Clothes everywhere. And I asked myself the question. I said, well, Steve, what are you doing with all of these clothes? Because 80 to 90% of them you're not using. And at that point, I told one of my workers to bring me up one of those big black garbage bags, those big black 30-gallon garbage bags. But anyway, the guy brought up 4. So when he got up, brought the 4 bags, I just got up, went to work, and I just started grabbing stuff and throwing it into the bag until I filled up 4 bags. At the end of it, I told him to go out and give these things to people who actually needed them, because I had just been accumulating them and just holding on to them and not really using them. So I told him to go out and give these things to people who actually needed them, and that was done. And then I started thinking a little more deeply about it. And I said, you know what? I need to bring a few of my friends together and see what it is that we can do, because Christmas was getting closer at that point. But then a light bulb went off in my head. I said, no, I'm not going to just call my friends together. I'm going to get as many people involved as possible. And that was how the concept, the idea of a national clothing drive for Liberia was developed in my head. The idea here is to make an appeal to Liberians to generate from them donations of clothing that they already have, that they're not using, already in their possession, to be collected and redistributed to people who don't have anything right here in Liberia. When I conceived that idea, I remembered that in 2022, the government of Liberia, UNICEF, and other partners came together. And they came together and they established and published a report which established that there were 363,585 children living in street situations all over Liberia. And that was when I decided to connect the two things together, to create a national clothing drive that would generate donations of clothing from Liberians in Liberia to be redistributed to this population of almost 400,000 young persons living all over the country, with Montserrat County having the highest number. And I called it Operation Cover Our People. But I've been working on that, developing the concept. We've incorporated in Delaware as a not-for-profit. I've founded a not-for-profit here in Liberia. We have a website, and I have put together and continue to put together the organization that would be necessary to make it a success. But you know, there are a lot more details, and perhaps you might be kind enough to let me come on for another 15-20 minutes at another time, maybe in a week or in a few days, to explain more to you about what it is and how it will work.
Thank you. Deeks, your follow-up.
Yeah, my follow-up going to be pretty straightforward. So pertaining to the same reconciliation, are you willing to take a step forward? I mean, because previously we had Richard, and then we lost. You can hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but then we lost our peace ambassador, William Aratoba III. So now, I mean, I'm not asking you to go lobby to be peace ambassador, but you as an individual, are you willing to take a step forward to take some initiative with this whole reconciliation process? I'm not putting pressure. I'm just asking.
Okay, we have already expressed to President Mwaka our support, our fulsome support to accompany him in whatever he wanted us to do with respect to national reconciliation. We are completely, we congratulate him, we support his initiatives, and we are willing and ready to work with him in any way that he will require, which will bring peace to Liberia. On the political side, ask Mr. Nangbe, maybe he got answer for you.
Mr. Nangbe, are you gonna start a campaign for the Senate or for president? For Mr. Talbot?
I think Mr. Nangbe will start a campaign. He's your new campaign manager.
Mr. Nangbe, answer the question for me now.
Steve, I mean, Robert, Mr. Tova,
Steve, it's okay. Call me Steve. It's okay. I'm cool with that.
All right, Steve. Actually, thanks for pushing that on my plate. No, I mean, I think you should think about it. All of us can help Liberia. Even though I wanted to congratulate you on, the undertaking, Cover My People. I think that's a very good venture. And yes, I hope the network will let you come back and let's get more details so that some of us, we may be able to identify ways in which we can be a part of, to help you whichever way we can. But let me ask you this: since you say
when you can't help me, then you will not get vexed because I went to school in England.
Yeah, exactly. Because they say you're riding train, and that time I didn't even know what train looked like, so I was in. Wait a minute.
Mr. Nambe.
But let me ask you this.
Mr. Nambe.
Yeah.
Please, I'm coming back here. Let me go to Robert. Robert.
Okay.
Robert, your 2 questions, please.
Mr. Tolbert, welcome to the closing argument.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's great interacting with you, and
thank you.
I'm trying to read the room, and apparently you don't want to talk politics, but I also would like to have you come back so we can discuss politics, because the Tolbert family played an integral role in transforming, others might disagree, politics in Liberia. I'm a bit controversial, so I like to go to the areas that are most controversial. But I just want to charm this in there, and then I'll ask you the question about peace and reconciliation. Your father, Steve, created many companies in Liberia, along with his brother, who was then vice president. And we talk about the Maserado group of companies. There were other businesses extended to Sierra Leone and Nigeria. There was a partial partnership ownership in the Bank of Liberia. Dama exporting. I mean, there were a lot of great things happening, but there were some who accused your father's brother of nepotism, that especially when your dad was appointed Minister of Finance, even though he resigned to accept the government position. But I mean, I think these are very interesting discussions to be held when you look at what's happening currently in Liberia. But I'll be respectful, and I'll wait until you're in the zone to talk about politics.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Let's talk about peace and reconciliation. You mentioned building bridges and letting go of hate. But how do we, as a country, how do we reconcile that with the reality relative to what we see today, right? Some of the very politicians, some of the very folks who helped destroy our country, created institute of what we now call Zogos, are rewarded with some of the biggest political positions in our country right now. They have become decision makers rather than facing justice. To the layman, to the guy who is not a Toba, to the guy who is not a Surly, to the guy who is not a Doe, to the guy the family who did not participate in any of the nonsense. Their only crime was that they were affiliated with a particular tribe, or they were referred to as Congo, or they work in a particular government. That was their only crime. How do we reconcile this objective with regards to letting go of hate and fostering reconciliation, when we have not gotten to the place where people who committed heinous crimes, crimes against humanity, they have not accepted that wrong. They have absolutely no remorse for it. Very folks that they oppressed, the very folks that they got in the position, they're living better lives than these very people. If not created any mechanism to rehabilitate young child soldiers. How do we explain to these folks who continue to grieve today And government after government, there's been no system in place to redress these concerns. How do we reconcile that? Because reconciliation is just not word of mouth. It's not something we talk about. It's through our actions, right?
I agree.
Can we reconcile when we continue to do the same thing that many will consider slapping in the face to victims of war?
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with your view. But let me just respond quickly to your point about nepotism, and the accusation of nepotism on my father as Minister of Finance because his brother was president. Look, it's true. That was the fact. He was the president's little brother, and it was nepotism. No question, no argument about that. Having said that, he was also probably the greatest finance minister that the country has ever seen. Why? Because when my father walked into the finance ministry in January 1972, he walked in there as a self-made multimillionaire who had made money in the private sector in Liberia. Nobody before him or after him has ever done that. That's the first thing. The second thing about it was that in the first 2 years of his tenure, and he was not Minister of Finance for very long, between 1972 and 1975. In the first 2 years of his tenure, he increased the Liberian national budget for the first time. It had been around $75 million. And he increased within the first year the national budget to exceed $100 million for the first time in the country's history. Of course, if you adjust that for inflation, you will know what that would mean in today's money. But he was the first one who did that. He went on to establish the Bureau of Concessions, to start the Central Bank of Liberia, to start and charter GSA, to monitor and control government property, and on, and the first computer system. His was the first IBM computerized ministry in the Republic of Liberia. So yes, it was nepotistic, no argument, but he also performed in a patriotic, nationalistic, and competent way. I'm not excusing the nepotism, it was nepotism, but his performance has also been unparalleled even up until today's date. So let me say that. Again, on the issue of reconciliation and change, I agree with you. I could not agree with you more. I think, because having lived here in the country for 20 years now, I've been watching, I've been looking, I've been listening. And it is clear to me that the system of government that we have, the laws, the structure, and the system of government that we have, it's not working for us. It's not working for us. We are falling further behind everybody else because of this system that we have. So this reconciliation also, I believe, has to come with reform, and reform in a systematic and fundamental way. Reform of structure, reform of institutions, and a number of other changes. But yes, I agree. I think that reconciliation must be accompanied by reform of the way how we handle our country's business. Absolutely.
Great. Before you go to your follow-up question, let me give the stats here for all of us. Mr. Tolo was talking about the statistics about the age, and it says here, according to the international wire here, approximately 63% of Liberia population is under the age of 25. 63%.
Right.
And it says here 32.8% of that population falls between the ages of 10 and 24. Just for our record. Go ahead, Araba, your second question.
Thank you, Mr. Torgbean. And and this is the reason why I think it's paramount that we have these discussions, not necessarily from a political lens, but from a historic lens, because there are people like myself. I mean, I wasn't born then, who have read history. We've had conversations, and it'll be interesting to hear from the house's mouth how some of these things actually played out. Yes, it was nepotism, but to your point, you know, even my pops will concur that Steve Tolbert, performed competently as finance minister. But I want to stay on this as finance minister, and also how do we change this conversation about is a Liberian still a Liberian, even if his or her mother is leader and he or she is competent or qualified enough to serve and give back to our nation. I think a lot of the conversations has been surrounded around incompetence, right? Because people are benefiting from positions that they're not necessarily competent, or they don't have just a requisite experience to perform. But let's stay on this reconciliation. And you talked about reform. You talked about the structure of governance that have kept us back. I want to ask this question, and I want you to answer this question earnestly, however you choose to. The 1980 coup d'etat, April 12th, your uncle was President William Tolbert. When you in hindsight, when you look at where our country is today, and I didn't want to ask this question, but I will ask this question, and I'm not trying to dismiss the history and what people actually went through that led to April 12th, 1990. But just as a Liberian, do you think that Liberia would be where Liberia is today had the 1980 coup d'etat not occurred?
No, it wouldn't have been. No, it wouldn't have been, because all of these things are directly connected. 1980 is connected with 1985. 1985 is connected with December the 24th, 1989. That is connected to other topical dates in our history. They're all connected. They're all connected. And the net effect of all of these things have been disruption. They have been the destruction of people and property and institutions. And so, you know, because of this, we are in the situation that we are now. You know, it hurts me. It hurts me. It angers me. I mentioned earlier that I'd lived for 12 years in Guinea. I married in the country, started a family there. And I keep pretty close tabs on the country. I still have friends and relatives and all of that in Conakry and other parts of Guinea. But when I go on social media and I see what is going on, how it's changing and developing, and I see the infrastructure, and I see the schools, and I see the universities, and I see the shopping centers, and I see the personal homes, and all of these things, and I look at what is obtaining in my own country, it makes me extremely angry. It makes me extremely angry, because we have everything that we need to be successful right here.
But
allow me
to push back 30 seconds, please. I beg you, Mr. Gimmy. Just 30 seconds. So then, just from where we find ourselves right now, because I keep asking this question: do you think that a transition could have occurred where we had the first edition of President of Liberia without a coup d'etat occurring, and how it occurred in 1980? Because then we won't be where we are right now.
No, indigenous president, Congo president ain't mean a damn thing. It is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. It's about what you can produce. It is about what your ideas are, what your policy is, and where you want to go. It's just, for me, it doesn't, you know, it's not so important. It's not important at all. It's not important at all. It's either you perform or you don't perform.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line.
Excellent, guys. Let me reintroduce the show. If you are just joining us, we have Mr. Steve Tolbert as our guest. We are talking about reconciliation and honesty. And from using my own sociological perspective here, I'm a fan of Mr. Talbot because as a sociologist, he is saying that their connectivity, and he went from A, B, C, D. So you cannot go from A to Z without connecting between A and Z. And he has made that connection, that there is a connection between 1979, 1980, 85, 89, up to where we are. You see, when we are talking about threading the needle, he is not splitting hair. This is where we need to be when you want to begin a conversation. He is not dodging the bullet. Most of you wanted him to be defensive when it came to the term of nepotism.
I am one of those who I will admit I'm disarmed. So
that's correct. For those who thought he was going to be defensive about nepotism, he just told you the circumstances under which this happened.
But Gilman, you're the one holding the man back. The man is
yes, I am holding him back.
Let Mr. Nambe ask a question.
Mr. Nambe, I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna lose myself. I'm gonna lose myself.
I like that.
I'm giving it to you, and
we have agreed.
You can come in, Victor.
We have agreed that you will come back. All right.
Thank you.
And on another circumstance, we have the family talk. But for now, we are talking real family talk here. We are talking. If you were in the interior, we'll be around the Palava hut here, and these are the things we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful. Let me go to the chief Tomalin. After you, then we'll go to Namwe. Then we'll go back.
Yes, Mr. Torgbean, again, let me say, I really appreciate you coming. There are not many people who will play the role you're playing today to come forward. But let me first give thanks to Faustina Bonner. Faustina, it wasn't an easy way to get you to come. Faustina.
I said, wait, Chief Tomalin, let me ask you, which county are you from?
I'm from Magibi.
You're from every county.
I was born and raised in Magibi. I grew up in
So you're not from the George family in Grand Jude?
No.
Okay, thank you. Keep going.
I thought you were. Time on George.
Yeah, but so I want to say thank you, but I want to recognize Faustina Bonner. She was very instrumental in helping me to get you to come. I think Faustina's father was former SS chief, Mr. Bonner. I think he passed away a couple of years ago. Yeah, but Faustina, we talk a lot, and so to get it wasn't easy, and even I tried to get Blama, but it wasn't easy too. But when she finally told me that she was gonna try to get you, I was excited when you accepted it. Because I'm saying it because look, there are a lot of historical things that we're learning tonight. Honestly, I didn't know about the Biafra issue that Tobo Biafra. A lot of things we didn't know. And then don't forget, at the time of his assassination, he was the president of the World Baptist Alliance. He was the chairman of the OAU. He was also, and so he was playing a lot of role. And as you were talking about the Biafra issue. And then I didn't know that he settled peace between Houphouët Boigny and Sékou Touré. These are historical things. It's good for us, And like, see, Faustina talking, NBI, National Bureau of Investigation, CID, NSA, OU. These are a role I think our father played. But look, I appreciate you coming a lot, and I think it's for history's sake. A lot of things I learned, but I want to ask you, why did they call your uncle Speedy? Speedy, what did they call him Speedy, right? What is it?
Because he wanted everything. Because he wanted everything fast, quick. He wanted to turbocharge Liberia's development. I think, having been vice president for 19 years under Tubman and being a younger man under Tubman, I think he wanted things and wanted to take the country in a direction which his boss at that time might not have approved of or might not have encouraged. So when he finally did get to the presidency, after the death of President Tubman, he was in a great rush. He was in a great rush. And I think that was how he got the nickname the moniker Speedy. And that I think was also, and then he had my father, his younger brother, to also back him up. My father was a businessman. I mean, he was essentially an industrialist, a businessman, and he was about figures, he was about the balance sheets, he was about productivity, he was about all of those things. And so while my uncle did the political and played the major political roles, he had right behind him his younger brother, who was facilitating it technically in terms of the organization and the administration and the financing and so forth and so on. Yeah, so that's how they were, both of them. Both of them wanted to see their country in a far different place. And not just because they were my father and my uncle. But in retrospect, when I look back at their lives and I look at the life that my father made possible for me, these were people that were far, far, far ahead of their time. I mean, they were way out there ahead of their time. The time, you know, this when President Talbot talked about self-reliance, for instance, developing, adding value to Liberian resources and talents here, before presenting it to the world. This is where we are today. This is where the whole of Africa is today. We are confronted with the arrival of the new American administration and its policies and its America First policies. We are confronted with the question of self-reliance at every single level. And we are short, we are wanting, and we are not there. But these guys were way ahead of his time. My father, in his time as a black man at that time, was able to create and grow the largest fishing company in Africa, period, owned by a black man at that time. This was a man who was living, and he was living large. He lived very large, and he lived very large out of his own pocket. You know, he had his own plane, he had a yacht here in Liberia, he had homes around the world. There was all of that going on, but it all happened out of his own pocket, and he was doing it. It made the white people scared.
Many times, like we were much. I was born in Toba era, but we're much younger. But as we found our history, today is arguably, people say this, and I don't think I want somebody to challenge me, but from history, people believe that President Talbot, to this date, he holds the place as the greatest president of Liberia ever. He was a visionary president. I will say this. I don't know. I want to see anybody can bring a president to say, well, who had what with a vision, okay? Because I mean, like most of these institutions that we have in our country.
Challenge you on that, though.
Huh?
I would challenge you on that.
Yeah, I would say,
for me, I would say this. I give it to Talbot. Okay, I mean, for my historical research. Okay, because there's the man who when he addressed the joint session of the United States Congress, and he addressed the United Nations. I think which one of the occasions he spoke Pele, that was at the UN or at the US Congress.
He spoke Pele at both of them. He spoke Pele at both of them. It was the bicentennial. It was at the bicentennial address to Congress.
Yes. Okay.
And at the United Nations.
And then I was surprised to learn that he spoke Pele fluently. So I want to tell you, what's the relationship between how he with Pele and with Bonkante? I mean, I know he had. I won't go too much, but tell me how he spoke Pele so fluently. You
see, y'all want to get inside the kitchen now. Y'all want to get inside the kitchen now.
Yeah, don't go there.
No, I will discuss that, and proudly so. My grandfather, that is William R. Talbot Sr., the father of the president and my father's father. He married.
Stop 1 minute. So, who was your mother's father?
My mother's father was Momolu Dukle, former Secretary of State of Liberia.
I got a historian. See if I was a historian. See if I already. I thought, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. My grandfather, William Richard Talbot Sr., the father of the president and my father's father. He married his Christian Congo wife, and he had children with them. But he also was a trader, and he married. He had many traditional wives, because he would buy things that imported goods, and he would bring them back to Bensonville at the time. And then he developed trade routes all throughout the country, going up north, going west, and going east. And he was a tall, fine man. And so everywhere he went, he developed a relationship with the people. And because of his trading, he developed a relationship with his people. They would give him a wife. They would say, yeah, our daughter. And he would marry. Wow. He would marry and bring the woman back to Bensonville with him and have children. Wow. As a result of that, the family became very numerically large. And we are proud of that fact. Not only numerically large, but we are the best integrated family ethnically across the Liberian landscape. Pele, Yo, Basa, Kran, Va, you name it. We got Toba in each one.
Wow. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the great edition, special edition of The Closing Argument. Our special guest is Mr. Steve Talbot. Steve, can you pronounce our first name? Is it Kehleboe? Kehleboe, or how you pronounce it?
It's Kehleboe.
Kehleboe.
Right.
Good. Let me welcome our own mayor here from the incoming senator from Lofa County. We're not talking politics here today, but my own homeboy from Grand Bassa County, Zad Dixon. How you doing there, young man? I'm reading your comment. Thank you very much. The incoming senator for Lofa County. How you doing there, Chief Henry? Where he gone? Oh, okay. Now let me go to Namwe, the campaign manager for Steve Talbot. You are next on deck.
There you go. Mr. Namwe, you coming, catch you.
This is a team draft Steve Talbot. That's but right. Listen, Steve, thank you again. I mean, we're really learning a lot from the family. I think this is very cathartic in a way. A lot of people are having a good time. But we're talking about nepotism. Let me and we're moving on. I'm not going to dwell on it, but let me just say this. Your uncle was the president. Your dad entered government at age 29. He was Commerce Minister, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance. Your older uncle was President Pro Tem of the Liberian Senate, Frank Talbot. Then your cousin, A. Benedict Talbot, again, may his soul rest in peace. Was in the legislature. In fact, it was being rumored he was on his way. He was being groomed to become the next president. So, I mean, the dominance of the Talbot family, I'm not even talking about Barley Hoder and all these people, the in-laws, all the other people, and Dukle and all these people, you understand me? But listen, your dad, your uncle rather, the name Speedy that you called, I mean, those of us in the progressive community were very convinced that Talbot was way ahead of his times, but we also recognized that he was in a difficult place. He was willing to move ahead of his times, but we were not convinced as to whether he had the capacity to bring along the old Grand True Party. Because we knew we were getting reports that there were a lot of grumblings, in the meeting room, in the committee room. A lot of people thought he was giving the shop away too much, too quickly, and they were not happy. And so we had concerns there. But notwithstanding, we do really appreciate President Talbot in our space. I think he did a lot of good. And those who say he has been one of the greatest presidents, yes, relative to his time, I think he's been one of the greatest we've had. I will have to admit that. He did a lot of good. But here's what I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to pull your foot a little bit. I mean, obviously, you're observing things in Liberia. I'm not going to ask you to compare government between Myean and Waka and all of that. But there is this discussion now in the press of the president of Liberia being invited to Washington, D.C., along with 4 other, presidents, almost all of them exclusively from the West Coast, except for, Gabon, which we could argue is also on the West Coast. And given this current president's pivot from an aid, diplomacy to one of commerce, trade, and investment, what would you make of this invitation? Do you think this could signal a turning point in our national history as a developing country?
I think it has the potential. Yes. Well, let me say this. I don't know. I'm not in government. I've not worked in the foreign ministry. I've not worked with Mr. Boakai in government before. And I know even less about what Mr. Trump wants with Liberia. Having said that, we need to better define what our national objectives are in Liberia. What is it actually that we want to do? What do we want to achieve out of a relationship? What goals are we trying to set and achieve through our foreign policy? And when we have answered those questions and identified where we want to be, what we need, and how we're going to get there, then we will be on much firmer ground. Because I don't see, as of now, I don't see anywhere in the public record where a strategic plan or a goal of where Liberia needs to be and how we need to harness our international relationships to get to that point. I have not seen it. So it's like, in many ways, we're going to Washington partially blindfolded.
Yeah.
And we blindfolded ourselves. One of the very interesting things, the great diplomatist, Henry Kissinger, there's a book that he wrote called Diplomacy. And it's a thick book. I think it's about like 600-700 pages. And it's a really brilliant book. And it discusses history and politics. But that was not what it was, why it was notable to me. What struck me about what Mr. Kissinger wrote was the fact that the United States had, for over 100+ years, 150 years, they had actually sat down in their councils and designed policy and objectives and created, in effect, the future and their role in it. They actually sat down and put it together. They looked at the situation, they decided what they wanted in that situation, and they decided on how they were going to get there. And this is what we have not done here. And that's what we need to do to be able to make the best out of the relationship. I don't think that it's so bad that Mr. Trump is transactional. I don't think that is so bad. He wants to know what's in it for the United States. I get it. I absolutely get it.
I absolutely agree with you, and it's difficult to tell yet what is going to come out of it, and I agree with you. I'm hoping that the president will go and listen and come back and do the best to reach out to the best and the brightest, given whatever discussion that will be had. They should not package him exclusively, on a partisan basis, because whatever I think that will be discussed here, I think will have far-reaching consequences way beyond his term.
And let me add this. And it's not just about putting our best and our brightest together, but there's also a need to collaborate, to cooperate, and to plan with our regional brothers and sisters. Correct. Okay? Our situations and conditions are roughly the same. across the board, across the West African continent, Africa in general.
Yeah.
Okay, and we need to come together. We need to come together, and we need to identify certain things that we want.
Correct.
We need to identify what it is that we want.
And that's that's the kind of thinking I'm talking about. I said, bring the best on the table. You have to bring people who will look outside the box. It's not just going to be on a partisan, but I'm enjoying the conversation.
And by the way, if you look back, coming back, let me take it back to Tolbert. When you look at the resolutions coming out of the 1979 OAU that was held in Liberia, you will see in the resolution the Monrovia Development Plan for Africa. Go and read about the Monrovia Development Plan for Africa. All this stuff that you're saying here, you will see it in there.
Thank you very much. I wanted to congratulate young Siddiqui coming on. I don't know if he's in the back, but Siddiqui, I'm passing it on. Congratulations. Steve, if you don't know, Siddiqui just got elected as vice president of Liberian students in Rwanda. He's a regular here with us on set.
Well, Mr. Siddiqui, how are you, sir?
Well, he's in the back. Mr. Tolbert, before I move on, I'm expecting a guest this week. Honorable Professor PLO will be in Florida here, and we'll be together. Something he said, I want your view. He said, why is it that when we get an invitation from either Washington or France or Great Britain, African leaders make this a major issue on every front pages of the paper when the invitation does not belong to them? Somebody is calling them to either lecture them or give them instruction. Why isn't like African president take this as a pride, as a badge of honor for being invited?
Well, I mean, why do they take it? Well, that goes back to a few hundred years of the power relationships which have existed in the world. Colonialism, the way the trade has developed, slavery, these all of these relationships are outgrowths of all of these previous situations and factors, and largely because we don't control these relationships. We don't have at our disposal. We have an inability to transform our wealth. We have an inability to transform our wealth, and so it creates the imbalance between the Western world and who we are in Africa. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't be so excited about going. I wouldn't be so excited about going unless it was very clear. The reasons for my going were extremely clear, and I knew what I was going to get out of the relationship. Then I would be happy to go. But because invitation coming from Paris or London or somewhere else here to go and eat hamburger and French fries and steak and tartar sauce, no. Been there, done that.
Great. My final question.
Let me just tell you, you're free to take a break. These young people, they will not recognize that. But men of a certain age, if you want to take a break, please don't hesitate.
Don't worry. The gentleman is in good shape. He can do that. Mr. Tolbert, according to my congressman here, because I reached out to my congressman office to see what is this meeting all about. And something briefly, he says here, it's centered around prosperity, security, and stability through the focus of investment rather than foreign aid. This is my congressman. That is everything else except foreign aid. Mr. Tolbert, that's what Brian Mass, my congressman Brian Mass, the office is saying.
Oh, that is your congressman certainly is in a place and a position to have much more information than me. No question about that. But one of the things that I think, one of the themes that is developing across the globe right now, in terms of resources and relationships, is this business of critical minerals. Okay, the Chinese created, more than going back 10, 15 years, have methodically cornered the market on the processing of critical minerals. Okay, and they've cornered the market, and they have a monopoly. Everybody else has to go to them, and it's been a methodic, strategic choice that they've made. Everybody else who needs these minerals right now are scrambling all over the place. The United States just signed a deal with the DRC for the development of critical minerals in that country. So I think that this, this invitation may perhaps have something to do with that. I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible.
Great. Mr. Who's that? Siliki, how you doing, that young man? Congratulations on your election as vice president. So what is your title? How do they call you now in Kigali? Are you vice president to Paul Kagame?
No. I'm not vice president.
Go ahead.
Are you guys getting me? Hello?
Yes, we are getting you.
Okay, great. So good to be here. Thank you, Mr. Game, and thank you to Mr. Sanvee for your congratulatory message. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here again. And thanks to all of you who supported us on our journey. Yeah, and I see my big brother Safa on. Good to see you. Mr. Taba, yes, I don't know you personally, but when the Capitol building incident occurred, I watched a video from you, and that video inspired me, and I think I said that's when I started following you, and thanks for speaking up that time, but unfortunately the way you spoke that day, many Liberians don't even listen to that kind of message. That's the kind of country we have, but you really spoke, as somebody who's been around our country. But good to be here actually. I enjoy the show. I've been following in the back, but I just decided to join. But again, thanks to the closing argument team, Mr. Nambe, Mr. Game, Sylvester Pewee, Sarah, everybody who supported us on our journey. We won the election here today, and it's a great task. I had to lead our fellow students in a foreign country. Very, very. We don't even have an embassy here. We don't have a consulate, nothing at all. But we'll try our best, to do what we can do to represent our fellow students. But good to be back on the closing argument. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We got 15 minutes here, so we have one question each, and then we'll ask Mr. Talbot to give his parting comments. We know he's coming back. We'll be able to engage in other economic issues, social issues, and sometimes maybe politics if he so desire. But Mr. Talbot, we are very glad that you were here. Thank you for giving us the time. I know, your call, your phone has been interrupted several times. People want to hear from you, but give us 15 more minutes and we'll let you go. CFI, I think you're next on deck. Your one question.
Yeah, okay, Steve. It's very nice having you, man. Hey, I think you need to take a step forward and just getting some kind of advocacy.
Mr. Deeks, Victor Nambe got our job already. Don't campaign for that job. That job
trust me, I don't want it. I can feel Victor's shoes.
Okay, you'll be assistant. You'll be a deputy.
So right now, I'm going to make the top of people mad a little bit. I know from your background, I can tell that
you know something. They've been cussing my mom, my pa for the time I was little boy. Can't have my feelings.
I'm going to make them mad a little bit. I mean, just for the conversation today, you can tell that you read a lot, so you got some historical knowledge. And Tomalin kind of put a step on my parade to talk about your grandfather, the late Mamadou Dukley, former Secretary of State. So we have talked about former President Torgbean, your father, Steve Torgbean. So we want to know. I mean, I like his story. I want to know the kind of person your grandfather was just from your reading, because I mean, I think you were a baby when he was Secretary of State.
He died. He died in Grandpa died in 1980, in November 1980. And I knew him. I knew him very well. I was the first grandson. I was the first grandson, and he was just the classiest, most elegant, sophisticated man in the world. I mean, he had such class and style, and he was a lawyer by profession. And he shepherded Liberian foreign policy during the independence phase, when African countries were moving towards independence. He was the Secretary of State of Liberia and helped a lot of African countries, his compatriots in those countries, of course, with the permission of President Tubman, his boss at the time. But he was very instrumental in that. But he was just a great guy, just a great, classy, suave, sophisticated guy. He represented, and there was a time when he was one of only 2 foreign ministers on the entire African continent, when everybody else was a colony. Mamadou Duklé and the Prime Minister of Secretary, the equivalent of the Foreign Affairs Minister of Ethiopia. Those were the only 2 African foreign ministers at the time, for a period of time in the 1950s. Wow. And I'm very fortunate because my mother was able to save a lot of records, pictures, documents, and she herself she's a story diplomat, and she herself has been able to transmit a great deal of information and stories about her father, and so I've been the beneficiary of that knowledge. But yeah, he was a great guy. He was a really great guy.
Thank you, Ahmed. Your one question, please. Your last question. You gotta make it brief. We got 15
I'm trying to make it very brief. I'm not too sure there are many other questions to ask anymore, considering that Mr. Toba provided us sufficient information, at least that we can hold on for today till he comes back another time. Maybe perhaps the only other question I would like to ask him is that as to whether he is still a member of the True Party.
Great. Are you a member of the grand old True Week Party?
I say, how much? You were still going south.
I'm not saying whether you.
From there, show you, you go and go dig. You will find nothing.
You you guys need to come up with a book, man.
Listen. I'm not a member of the True Week Party. I've not been a member of any party in Liberia. Since I've been back, I have devoted my time towards private business, mostly towards private business. So I participated in some elections, in voting. Yes, I've done that. But I'm not a member of a party, and I'm certainly not a member of the True Week Party. That is not to disown my family's connection to the party. Absolutely not. William Talbot evolved through the True Week Party of Liberia, and turned out to be an extremely progressive and visionary president. But no, personally, I'm not a member of the True Week Party.
Thank you, guys. We got 7 more minutes. Let's make the question quick. Garguah.
Listen, I mean,
not necessarily a question, comment, but let's make it quick.
Mr. Gilman is pushing us to make the question quick, so I won't even ask the question. Yeah, I won't even ask the question I wrote down.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I want to ask the question exactly. But let me say this. I think I've heard you repeatedly talk about, the reform that is needed where we are governance-wise, and you just talk about your perspective on this whole invitation and what we need, our foreign policy, and what we need based on our own interests. Let me ask you this question. It's been 20 years since the civil crisis officially ended in Liberia. And I know for a fact we have a lot of intelligent young and old Liberians across the globe. From your perspective, why do you think we have not made significant progress when it comes to governance, when it comes to our country? Is it a shortage of intelligent people, or have we elected the wrong folks in strategic positions in government? What is your perspective with regards to why we have not made progress?
It's a combination. Look, Liberia needs a massive dose of modernity. Okay, I mean a massive dose of modernity. We are thinking, living, and operating in an early 19th, 19, 20, 30, 40, 50 mindset. Okay, that is in 2025. And we need to catch up with the rest of the world. We need to reform. We need a reform of our institutions. Look, Mr. Seliki mentioned a video which I released about the Capitol building fire. When I saw that, I had generally not done that before, but I saw that fire on the Capitol, and it outraged me. I saw that video.
I saw that. I didn't know it was
it hit me to the bottom of my soul. But it was also very symbolic of the rot, of the corruption, the malaise, the misdirection of the country. All of it was encapsulated in that fight. All of it. And that was why it moved me. And I said, I had never done that before. And I was like, you know what? I said, I can't go on this social media here to be talking and doing this. I said, but this one here, I'm not letting it go, because it hurt me. It really disturbed me. And it made me realize how extremely fragile our country is. It also made me realize that if we don't start doing the things to change it in a peaceful way, okay, that change will fall upon us in an uncontrollable way. That is what it made me realize.
Wow. So you didn't answer the question. So what do you think? What do you think has been an issue? Have we elected the wrong folks? Why have we not made serious progress, though?
But when you asking me a question that you know the answer to,
the man said the fire encapsulates everything. That's what he said.
I'm asking. My perspective is different from yours. So what is yours?
Yeah, but he said
you want to pepper with my mouth. You know the answer to the question.
Ain't gonna happen. Siliki, your last comment. Make it short. Now we're down to 4 minutes. Go ahead. 4 minutes.
My last comment has to do with, it's not really a question, but I just want to speak about what you said.
Make it brief. You gotta make it brief.
Yes, Mr. Given, the way you can run do your motivation, like I'm a bush.
That's right. We
on time. You spoke about something. I think you were asking Mr. Tobo about why African leaders are always excited when they are invited by the US. But I think let's check around good. I don't think it's African leaders, because I think about a few months ago, the president of South Africa was invited in the US, and they had a very, fruitful conversation. And I know a lot of South Africans, and following a lot of South African media, they were not bragging about that as an achievement compared to ours in Liberia, but it's just our case, whenever, even let's talk about the American government, even if any of our politicians, they appear on any foreign media, institution for interview, they take that as achievement. I believe this issue of, we having this mindset of mediocre, just being over Julius about small things, because the fact of the matter is Joseph Boakai is a president of a whole country. Trump is a president of the whole country. So the main invite you what's a big deal about it? But you make a big deal, the president of America invites you, and you go there, nothing.
No small fit when the president of America invites you, bro.
You see?
Oh,
so
on,
African leaders are invited to, those different meetings. They don't take it big. Those countries of African, they don't post about it. Oh, our president is in the US meeting Trump and all of that. But we do that because of the kind of mindset we have. So I just wanted to make that clarity. But it's not African. I don't want you to generalize it.
Ramaphosa asked for a meeting at the White House.
Listen, Ramaphosa came, it was one-on-one. The president of Liberia is coming as a group, and they will be somewhere else. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Tomalin George, your guest is here. I think it behooves you to give him a farewell, a great farewell. Mr. Toro, I enjoy your conversation. I look forward to meeting you when I get to Liberia. So we can eat some basa, fufu, and dombo, one of the two.
Already. I can swallow. I don't get a problem.
Thank you. Mr. Tomalin George, it's all yours.
Thanks, Mr. Torgbean. Again, I want to say thank you so much for honoring the invitation. It's long overdue. A lot of things we learned. I mean, I've gotten a lot of messages coming to my phone. The people, the response is positive, and people who wish that we could have another program, which we would definitely do again. And like Shafa said, somebody said that you should step up. I think so. You know a lot of stuff. And one thing that caught my mind from this event, this program tonight, is that as we talk reconciliation and unity, you said we should do a reform. It is true, though. We need a lot of reforms in our country. Our constitution is one of the problems with the constitution we got today.
I agree.
Yeah, I pray that President Boakai can do a referendum, put forward a referendum to amend certain part of the constitution about
I agree.
The time
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
You need to do that. And so I leave from here with this thing that the reform as you come along, reconciliation and
correct.
Peace. And I pray that after what's happened during the course of the week, I don't know the next step, what the next step will be, but as I pray that it's a healing process on now. We go forward, and you sounded very positive tonight, and I can tell that what happened 45 years ago, I think is in the past, and now it's all about moving forward, and I hope we are learning a lot from what transpired. But I believe that I think there are a lot of things that you can do still. And somebody in Atlanta, Georgia, I should say that when you're talking about your your program you're launching, the cover up.
Cover Our People Foundation.
Maud is saying that she got stuff to contribute towards it. She got a lot of clothing and so forth.
So wow.
Towards it.
Oh wow.
And
look, gentlemen.
Your pastor, Mr. Talbot.
Gentlemen, really, I am very grateful and I appreciate your invitation tonight. I didn't quite know what to expect, but I made myself available, and I'm happy that I did. I thank you very much. I said that long you got this Chiefs in Tomalin and George. Which one? Nyenwolo inside. So which one I'm gonna call you?
Say Tomalin.
I'm gonna say Tomalin.
Yeah.
Okay, Tomalin. So I really want to thank all of you guys for the invitation, for your reception, for the questions that you've asked, for your honesty. I appreciate that. And I look forward to being back, to talk about reconciliation, to talk about the way forward, to talk about our challenges and how we might overcome them. And I also want you guys to help me in my project. In my Cover Our People Foundation project in the National Clothing Drive. I would appreciate it if you guys could also help me so that we can do some good here, some important and necessary good here on the ground for our fellow Liberians. I would really appreciate that. But I've loved being here. I've loved being here. Ms. Anambe, I love fighting with you.
Mr. Namwe,
You know,
when are you going to start the draft Tobo thing?
Mr. Namwe, yeah, I'll put on thanks.
It already started. Yeah, thank you, Chief Tomalin. Listen, Steve, I'll be honest. You know, you came on here. You said your maternal granddad was class and suave and all that, but I think you came here and you checked all the boxes. I haven't known you, but for the time together tonight, I have to say you're a very classic guy. And you know, I'm very glad and honored that you know, we're able to meet here. You know, I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing. You know, all of us need to pull together. I think there's a great need in our country. You know, this artificial divide, we need to get past it. It will be difficult, and it is not imaginary, but we have to rise above it. So it was really great talking to you. I'm sure all of us here got to learn the other side of the Torgbean family. So on behalf of the platform, thank you so much for making the time. I will look forward to hosting you again whenever you're available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And this, Tomalin.
Yeah.
I beg you, spread my WhatsApp number to those men then. Let them hit me up on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Mr. Toman,
How she can get it close? How she can get it close to you?
she said he's
Wait.
coming back. He's coming back.
But that's some of the things why I need your fuck, because we got to organize it in the States. I'm here organizing on the ground in Liberia. I have to find ways of doing this in a practical, cost-effective way in the States.
Thank you.
So that's why, but we'll be talking more about that. We'll be talking more about that, and we can come together.
I wanted to say,
well, you got your Minnesota connection, yes, so you know that you got Minnesota connection.
I wanted to say thank you to Faustina for doing what she did.
Yep.
Yesterday we profiled the College of West Africa on our show here, and I'm looking at the list here. Right after Solomon Carter, we got the Honorable Mamadou Douglas, statesman and a diplomat, graduate of CW, right here. So it was that time that you keep his name is right here. Right on top
No,
of
man, any Congo president you knew went to CWA and then reached into the store. Just let them know.
Thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to talking to you.
Yeah, assimilated the man. Y'all told me.
It's all right. It's all right. Madigo people, we are all Liberian. Thank you very much, Doc. We look forward to talking to you. And
thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful evening. Yep. You take care.
Okay, guys. Evaluation here.
Wait, quickly before we go for evaluation, the president leaves tomorrow for the USA, and I got information that how to call it, something was signed today in Liberia. I don't know, with HPX. The HPX signed it.
Yeah, I read that too. Isn't that kind of curious? I mean, given the falling out that was reported back in May, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm told that the president is coming on. He's on way to the States for true. And but let me just ask quickly, man. I beg you quickly before we leave from here. I mean, they take our partisan hats from our head. That be a Liberian objective. First of all, I'm excited for the president to come to America to meet with Trump. Meeting Trump nowadays is not an easy thing. If you have an opportunity to meet with Trump, make best use of it. But in my excitement, I want the best to come up for Liberia. I want Liberia to benefit from the visit, whatever the case might be. But I pray that the president and his team will do a good work, prepare him for the meeting with Trump and other African leaders. And I pray that he'll be at his best, and that he will be more active and more alert and be at his best to put Liberia case. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, Tomalin, I mean, we already know the foreign policy of this government is America first. So, and like Steve alluded to in one of the remarks, there's big juggling for mineral resources. DR Congo, where it's a war zone, they got to deal with the U.S. government. They got a rail that runs from DR Congo to Angola. They call it the Lofa corridor. The Chinese got a rail too from DR Congo that runs to Dar es Salaam. So, and then with this HPX ArcelorMittal thing, all HPX wants is the railway that runs from Nema to Buchanan should be multi-use, independent operated rail. We can tell you back in 2000, was it 2004 when Judy Bryan signed the first concession agreement with ArcelorMittal, and when Madam Sadi came to power, she brought him back on the table because the port and the railway were given to ArcelorMittal, and these are national assets, so they were taken away. I know ArcelorMittal got some freedom because they had to rehabilitate some part of the rail to operate. So this whole HPX thing, the IO for HPX is coming from Guinea. To build a rail from Guinea, from that part of Guinea to Conakry is very long. So they're probably going to build like a 40, 50-mile rail and connect with the one that in Nema, and it will come to Buchanan, and it will use another side of they're not going to use the existing pier that ArcelorMittal is. They're going to build their own facility. So, and then you never know what's going to happen. That rail can be used for other commercial activity. So what the president coming for is say what business and commercial opportunities. I mean, let's wait and see. All we should be careful with. We should just look at people. We should look at people that will just be happy to be in the room. Once you see that they'll just be happy to be in the room, I mean, we're not going to get anything from there.
So we should manage our expectation.
You got no expectation.
You got no expectation.
Steve, let me say this quickly, and I agree with what CFO was saying. And I really think, like you say in your opening, I think this is one issue where we all need to take off our partisan hats. You understand me? And really, if it is what we think it will be, I hope the president would tell them, all right, I hear what you say, I will come back. I need to, go back and whatever it is you need, and let him come back and put together a team of really sharp shooters. And like Steve even said, even if it has to go outside of the country, you can draw on other countries' experiences in this kind of matter. Because what Trump is doing, I mean, he has a Supreme Court. He is setting this country up for the next maybe 25, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. The things he's going to put into effect here, most of them will stay with us for a very long time. The foreign policy now, as they have tilted toward the side we all are talking about, I think the engagement they're beginning with are going to lead the way as they spread out throughout the rest of the world. And so the fact that we are among the first or so, maybe South Africa was there, but this could really be something big. And like you said, I'm happy for our country. Yes, we can't prejudge it yet. We don't know exactly what it will be. But the fact that, we've been invited in there, I really hope we'll take our time to handle this thing with the care and the caution and the expertise, that it deserves, so that at the end of the day, we emerge happy. And of course, the U.S. is happy. This should not be a UP thing, a CDC thing, or whatever it is. I think we should drop all. Yes.
There's a number you just read. I just read to you what the congressman said.
Yeah.
Trump is sending this invitation out to let these folks know what his policy would be.
Right.
Prosperity, security, and not aid.
Yeah.
What is that? This is coming from the congressman office. This is the foreign policy of the United States now. He's coming to let. What are you going to say now?
Yeah.
What is it that you expect? This man is calling you to let you know what the policy is. So anybody who expects that you're going to leave this place, first of all, it's off the table to let you know that they have gone away from aid. There's no more aid, period. There's no more aid. So if you were coming here to beg for aid, if you don't have a bargaining chip, like say I got my Wolo, give this man thing, I want America to come and invest.
Yeah.
I want you to do this. I want you to do that. This is what we want for. If you don't have that,
obviously, I don't think it's about aid, but back to you guys.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I think I must I must take my early leave. It's July 4th. I gotta go. I gotta go to run to a barbecue, get
All
some
right,
meat
my
and
fellow
some
brother.
beer.
I'll see you later, man.
Gentlemen,
Who you gonna? So I mean, before I leave, I mean, happy July 4th, everybody.
Absolutely,
It
man. Happy
was a
4th to you
great,
all. I
great
myself,
show.
thank you all.
Great show. Steve came well prepared. You know, it was enlightening. We learned a lot. You know, I mean, I mean, reconciliation is a process. Hope we continue to have these kind of conversations going forward.
And he
So
was honest. He was very honest and open. He
Well,
wouldn't
Mr.
defend.
J-Man, I thought
take care, guys.
Happy
Happy 4th.
asked a question.
Happy
With
4th.
David in the thing again.
Huh?
I thought Tomalin George asked a question.
What was it?
Robert hasn't had a go at the
about the
president.
invitation, then you'll pivot to something else again.
Oh, go ahead. Answer the question. Look, he got a question, then he on the phone. Hey, Chief, Tomalin George, I'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Saturday now.
Oh, Monday. I'll see you Monday. Let me run to my barbecue, my man. Let me run to my barbecue.
See y'all later.
All right. Enjoy. I want to listen to Robert, then I'll check out. I don't know if he has something to say. Otherwise,
No.
You're good? Okay, guys. Thank you very much, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Chief, Siddiqui, congrats again, my man.
Okay, good night, Mr. Gamer. Thank you. Okay.
Siddiqui, congratulations, man. I heard you won election. Congratulations, though. But thanks everybody, man. Thanks everybody. I enjoyed 4th of July. Let's have fun. And yeah, well, we can go to the cookout, man. Oh. Siddiqui, congratulations, man. I've been busy. I didn't follow your elections. You
want to say something? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So somebody will run against you?
Yeah, sure. The current leadership, the guy was a secretary general.
He ran against you?
Yeah.
Where you from?
He's a Liberian too, but he studied outside of Kigali.
Oh, wait, the election of Liberian community in the school?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
No, not in the school, but in the entire Rwanda, because we have.
Oh, really?
Liberians.
So you're the vice president of Liberians in Rwanda?
Yes.
Wow. Well, man, you might rub your shambo on ANC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but thanks.
Yeah, but that's good, man. Congratulations. That's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
It shows that ANC now really treating you well. Very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So who the president?
One Eka Dennis. He's the James Eka. He's the chair president, and then I'm the vice president.
Okay.
Yeah, but for him, he's doing his master, and he should be graduating this December.
So how many votes you got?
We had 345 votes, and our opponent had 200.
They voted by ticket or individual?
Yeah, we voted like you vote for the chairman, the president, the vice president, and the secretary general on one ticket. Then you vote for the treasurer on one ticket.
Oh, so what were the difference between the votes?
Like 100 plus, because we have 345 votes, and the opponent had 238 votes.
Wow, you're beating on landslide. What?
Yeah, we beat them. Yeah, they won in places that got small numbers, but for us, we win the entire universities, all the university in Kigali.
Wow.
Yeah, I get a population. Yeah, we won. Like the university, I mean, we won there. Like we had 119 votes, and they had 21 votes.
Wow.
You
You realize call that one how do you call it? Shellacking. Real shellacking.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
we how many yeah.
So
Okay.
So the people that won, what party they supporting abroad?
No, like we get people from different parties.
So your team, who other party there?
No, so even my team, we got people who support Unity
The
Party,
president,
who support
that won,
CDC.
what party is supporting abroad?
The current president now.
The man who your boss man, who you want along with?
Now I'm saying that the mayor of Ronaldo right now,
Yeah.
he's a basically a Fide supporter, but he's not part of any political party.
Oh,
Fide saying he had to go to school.
Oh,
He's
really?
from Boston. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's not a member of any political party, actually.
Ah.
Yeah.
So who is about the secretary?
The secretary he used to be a citizen, but now he's not part of CDC again.
Oh, he won now.
I know he's not supporting any political party, but he used to be a citizen because he used to live in Morocco, and Moba Molu helped him to send him to Morocco. But he left Morocco to come here to continue his education.
I see.
Yeah.
Ah, that's good. That's good. Well, you got it. Well, anyway, you prepare yourself for the future. That's good. I'm happy for that because Labro would definitely need more gang, more too funny, man.
What Mose?
Mose, why going to barbecue in Kozu? What me? Today I've got two. I'm going to barbecue. I'm going to the barbecue. I'm going to wear my Kozu logo.
Yeah, but happy July 4th, though. Happy July 4th.
Yeah, man. Happy July 4th. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. We
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of late for my end, but thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Good to be here. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, folks. Thanks everybody again. Look, I got a lot of positive feedback from Mr. Torgbean appearance, and honestly, he's very eloquent, very informed. He knows a lot, and I like the way he handled himself tonight. People are really praising him, and I'm sure when it comes to the politics side, he hold his own turf, and so I know that. But it was a great show. I love it, and I look forward to Oh, I see my man Chief Kafuma Dukle, the second, Dr. Sheikh Kafuma Dukle. Hey man, the guy at one point in time he was special assistant to President President we are not president. He was special assistant to we are. Had they bought being in that position still, maybe a lot of things would have happened because he would have made a very good minister of state for the president. Dr. Sheikh Kafuma Dukle II. Man, I'll look for one of these days to host you, man. I'd love to hear from you. I know you're in a health era, but yet and still, you're still a politician. I know. I'd love to hear from you one of these days. But it's good to hear from you today. But again, let me go look for some barbecue to eat. I want barbecue too. Oh. Why are you hearing so? Oh. Okay, I can't believe what? Huh? Oh. No. Oh. Oh. We're gonna. Oh. 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 People, don't tell me this. Oh. Don't tell me this. Huh? Don't Tell me this thing, man. Oh. And people, you're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. One of our friend, a close friend, he comes on the platform to say, hey, wife passed away. That's why. But I'm so shocked. I'm so sorry. I'm so shocked. That's why I'm shocked. I'm so sorry. But enjoy your 4th of July. It's sad, very sad thing. I mean, very sad. Oh God.